because if it's a good demo, I might put it up on our YouTube. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. Oh, it's afternoon in both places, so I don't have to worry about saying good morning and afternoon. I do a lot of little Zoom demos where we take a product and we just kind of show it off, and we always pick our favorite ones. And Bryan said, I want to play my favorite Lowry, and it happens to be the EZ10, so that's why we scheduled this. And he's going to take you on a little tour. And for those of you who joined who comes to the classes regularly, we have Sean Maloney. He's kind of like the co-pilot, although he's almost like the pilot, really, because you're just making sure everything is going smoothly. And if you get out of hand, he'll mute you, and that's his way of saying shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
But we're going to keep you muted most of the time, but I want you to, Sean, keep an eye on if there's any questions throughout the presentation. And that's just to make sure that when he plays, there's no sound interference, so you get at least the best experience possible. We always say headphones are great if you can, because that's the best sound quality that you can get on this type of setting. Obviously, Sarah has got her headphones on, so that'll help. So with that said, we have Mr. Bryan Lewis. If you've seen him on some of the classes, he's obviously one of our instructors, does a phenomenal job. He also not only is a great music background, but he also specializes in showing products from the perspective of the student. And he's going to take you on a little tour today of the Lowry EZ10. And I have a feeling you have a couple of different camera views, don't you?
I do.
Because I was like, where's the EZ10? And he's pointing it at him. Oh, he's getting really fancy. So with that said, introducing the Lowry EZ10 with Bryan Lewis.
How was the sound on there? Pretty good? Seeing maybe one thumbs up.
Yes, sounds good.
Sounds good? All right. So, yeah, thanks for having me on here today, guys. It's always a pleasure to join you all on Zoom, and this is a more intimate setting than some of the other ones. We've been doing some of the variety classes, which I'm sure you've been on, where we'll have 80, 90, 100 people sometimes. So it's sure nice to be here with just a handful of you. And I wanted to just make sure that the same kind of stuff would apply. If you have any questions throughout the time, make sure you either virtually raise your hand, which is just that button at the bottom of your screen. It should say raise hand, or just flag somebody down and Sean can let me know that you have a question. But I was really excited. Yeah, Robert was he was asking some of us as employees what instrument we might want to demo, and the EZ10 was one of the first ones that came in mind to me. It really is maybe my favorite Lowry instrument, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's a huge, huge amount of stuff in a fairly small package. And so if you're somebody who either is space restricted or maybe you just don't want a huge instrument, this is an amazing, amazing instrument that has so much on it. And I'm going to get right into it because I know I'm going to run short on time for all the stuff that I'll want to say. But what I like to do, I'm going to bring in my other camera view back here. I like to talk mainly, or at least most importantly, about two things. And if you were on my Zoom classes for the last couple weeks, you'll know that I discussed both of these things in those classes, which are music styles. In other words, what background do you choose here on the left, and your melody sounds. And there are many reasons why I like the EZ10 for both of these reasons. But I'm going to start right here off with the music styles. So this is, it's really nice. Whenever they did the transition to the E series technology and a lot of the silver panel instruments, if you will, it's so clearly marked. So this whole section, it'll even say right up on top here, these are your music styles and these are your music style controls. And so the reason that these music styles are so important is because it dictates what kind of music you want to play. And so these buttons at the top are going to tell me, do I want to play a country song? Well, I would touch country. Do I want to play a Broadway song? I would touch Broadway. Do I want to play a pop song? Touch pop or ballad or Latin or whatever it might be. And I'm assuming that most people have EZ instruments. Would that be accurate? We might want to ask real quick before I get too far into it. Let's see if I can unmute. Jeannie, what instrument do you have?
EZ4.
An EZ4? Okay. Let's see, who else do I see on here? Sarah, what instrument do you have?
She has the EZ4 as well, yeah.
An EZ4 as well? I know Willie has an EZ1. Susan, what do you have?
I have an EZ4.
Okay, so EZ4 is an EZ1. That's good. So what's really cool is if you are ever looking at an EZ instrument, the EZ10 would be the one. The EZ10 is actually the top of the line of the EZ series of instruments. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. There are a couple of kind of digital piano type things in the middle there, but then it goes to 10. And so the 10 is the kind of top of the line of the whole EZ series. So when you look over here, I'll try to get you zoomed in a little bit closer. What you'll notice, even if you can't see I'm sure you can't see the text because it's a little far away, but what you can see is that there are a lot of blue buttons right here, right? And those blue buttons are all your music styles. So just like on the EZ1, where you have 6 of those buttons, and then you have the pianist option also. On the EZ4, you have 8 of those buttons. And so coming from the 4 to a 10, you actually gain 4 new buttons, which are Broadway, which is up top here. You also get ballad, pop, and mix. And what's cool, hopefully you know this from your lessons at your local store, is that each one of those buttons comes with 3 fully orchestrated styles. So if I were to touch, let's say, I just played mix and guitarist on that little bluesy number I just played on the opening. So if I did mix guitarist, I would get something that sounds like this. All right. If I were to touch mix pianist, I get a completely different music style. And does anybody know what that would be perfect for? Maybe you can virtually raise your hand or flag us down if you know what that intro was. See, Eric and Andrew know. Let me play it one more time for you. Listen to this. To me, it sounds perfect for I'll Be Seeing You, right? But it's a totally different style than that kind of shuffle guitar player, right? And that's why it's in the category marked mix. If I go to mix full band, it's one of my favorite ones, is Aloha. So you can see why they call that category mix, right? It's got 3 completely different music styles. But why I like to highlight that one is because you should know that no matter what instrument you have, with the exception of the EZ1, you have just the full band and the pianist, but from the EZ2 and above, you have a full band, a pianist, and a guitarist music style for each blue button that you have. So what that means is when you have Broadway, ballad, pop, and mix, is that you're actually gaining 3 styles per button. It's So to me, that's pretty cool. From a 4, you're gaining all those new music styles, and they're all right on the panel here. Another thing you might notice is that the panel is nice and lit up here. I don't know if you can see. It seems to be coming across pretty nice. The panel is all lit up, and your ABCs are lit up. So check this out. If it's off, it's a little bit harder to see, but this is the first instrument in the line where you can actually touch ABCs on, and it's way easier to see. That's like a top of the line feature that normally wasn't on like the EZ type series of instruments. But when they put it on here, I thought, man, that's great, because I know that a lot of people struggle with vision problems, and when you can really see the notes marked there, it really will help with your playing, especially if you're more towards the beginning side. So that's a great feature, and it's always fun just to give yourself a little light show sometimes. You can just go back and forth, have some fun. So anyway, I'll play some more music for you. I'm going to go on to, let's do Broadway Pianist. So Broadway is a new button here, and this is a style that's called Awesome Piano, and that's for Dennis Awesome. Isn't that a fun one? And another thing I wanted to point out, this is going to kind of transition into my next little part here, because remember I said that I think the most important things are the music styles, right? Your blue buttons that you choose over here. The next most important thing, or maybe even more important than that, would be your melody sounds. And one of the things that you might notice that I was doing here in the center, maybe you can see on the screen, you have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are these darker colored buttons in the middle. Now this is another feature that really came from the upper end instruments, but again, it's in the EZ series. And that's why they refer to this one as the top line of the EZ series, because it really did get a lot of these top line features that weren't on like the EZ1, 2, 3, and 4. And for that matter, weren't even on more expensive instruments than this from the previous generations, right? This was a really kind of advanced thing that they put on here. So what you have in the middle are style setups. And you may remember I talked about this at the workshop a couple weeks ago. And what the style setups do is they allow you to have new melody sounds. In this case, if you're accustomed to an EZ4, you already know that hopefully you have one on the upper and one on the lower. In other words, if I was playing, fiddles up here, I'd have something else like maybe saxophone down here. And so no matter what I pick, I'm going to get two sounds, right? It could be choir and chimes. But whatever it is, it's going to go with your style that you've picked out. So just like on an EZ1 or on an EZ4, if you hit Latin and full band, you get vibes and guitar. So vibes on top. And then guitar on the bottom. Okay. And the difference is on the EZ4 and on the EZ1, you only get one style setup. They actually refer to it as style setup 0. And beyond that, once you get to the 10, you start having these numbered buttons. So what that means is as I go on to number 1, now I'm going to get two other sounds. So I have acoustic piano and electric piano. I go to number 2, I'm going to get a different kind of Spanish guitar and a flugelhorn. And as I go through each one, I'm going to get 2 different sounds, one for the upper and one for the lower. So to me, these setups are huge, huge as far as features go, because what that means for you is anytime you pick a music style, like I was just on Latin, but we can go to something like, let's go to ballad and guitarist. This is a fun one. And as soon as I play you the intro, you'll know what this one's for. But what's fun about this is as you go through the setups, your style setups here in the middle, it actually changes the background. So if you noticed, like when I started on that mixed guitarist, it sounded like this, right? And at some point I switched and watched just by touching one button, listen to the arrangement. Shuffling in my seat here. I can't help it. But that's what's going to happen when and it doesn't matter what style you pick. The arrangement with the background is, with your music style is going to change as you go through these different style setups. So not only does it give you those 2 new sounds, one on the upper, one on the lower, it also is changing your orchestration in a way that was, you couldn't have imagined this being on an instrument of this size in the last generation of our Lowry organs. So this is a really, really cool kind of top-end feature that it just sounds great no matter what style you pick. But let's do, what did I say I was going to do? Ballad and guitar? This is another fun one. This is in your Lowry books. That's pretty sweet, isn't it?
Nice.
And you can hear how much that background changes as I go through. Now, it works on all different styles. So let's say I was doing ballad and full band, which is a style that's called Wonderful World. So if you can't guess what song it's going to be, I can't help you. Okay? But let me show you how the style changes as I'm going through here. I think that's really, really pretty. And so hopefully you were noticing not only does it change the melody sounds that I was doing, it was changing the background. There's even this really cool little kind of synth part, if you can hear this. Watch when I change here. Hear that in the background? So it's really neat. And to me, those are huge, huge features. Like I said, that's why I like to lead off when I demo this instrument, which really is honestly one of my favorites of all time, because the styles and the setups are really, really crucial. It's such a big part of what you get with this instrument. And I feel like if you skip over that somehow or don't spend enough time on it, you're really missing out. And of course, I don't have enough time to play all of them for you today, because you do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 times 3. So you have 36 different styles, plus all the changes that you get when you have your style setups in the middle. And what you'll notice is when you start using these, you start using your setups, you'll think, well, when I pick, ballad and pianist, I really love numbers 2 and 4 and 5, and those are my favorites. And you'll start using those. So you get to know which setups are the ones that you really like. And to me, that's part of the fun of exploring some of these new things that you get. So does anybody have any questions on that? Because that's the two huge things that I think are really important to this one. I want to make sure nobody has any questions about that before I move on. All right, good. Well, I get to keep going then. So another really, really big part of this instrument is built right into the center here. Now, if you have an EZ4, you'll hopefully already be familiar with song setup. You do get the 100 song setups in the middle here. And if you're not familiar, just to mention for anybody that might not already have song setup, what that's going to do is give you a complete kind of preset setup, or whatever you want to call it, for whatever song you pick. So if I wanted to play, let's say, I don't know. Say if I wanted to play 5'2", and I just touch select, everything is set up to play 5'2". And this is a style that's called ragtime piano. So this is, you might be able to see here, it lit up pop and pianist. So if you like ragtime music, you can do just about anything, but this is a little 5'2". And if you saw what I did there in the middle to change my sound, I just touched style setup. That's what I was just talking about. So if I want to use song setup and make the instrument setup itself, but then I want to change the sounds in the middle, I can just touch style setup. Now, even if you have an EZ4, you do have the option of going to your regular style setup there. However, if those aren't the two sounds that you like, or maybe they're very similar to what you've got in song setup, you kind of have to start fiddling with these buttons over here. When you have these setups in the middle, I actually ended up going to number 4 because I thought that was one that I would like. And it was some of the do singers, which is fun to use sometimes. So song setup is a really nice feature. And like I said, you get 100 song setups on here. And some of them are just really, really nice. I don't want to get too much into it because I'll end up spending the rest of the day playing songs. But I did want to mention another button here. The one just to the left of that, so you have song setup in the middle, and then just to the left of that is a button called songs. So songs is slightly different in the way that it functions. You know, song setup just gives you the setup for the song. It doesn't actually play it for you. Songs is going to actually play it for you. And this one happens to have the first 40 songs in the Lowry Magic program. So if you have Conductor Magic, Red Book 2, Red Book 3, Red Book 4, you've got all of these songs built in. And some of them are pretty tricky. Like if we go to, let's say like Yellow Submarine. Now you can hear that the instrument's playing itself. I'm not actually playing it. So I'm going to turn that one off for now. And I'm going to leave you with a follow-up question. I'm not quite done yet, but I want to leave you with a follow-up question for your local staff. Okay, so if you're a student that's on this call right now, you have to make sure you ask your staff about this, because what I just did was I went into into songs, selected Yellow Submarine, but if you can see on my panel here, none of those blue buttons lit up. So I would make a mental note or an actual note of that and ask that to your local staff, whoever you normally work with at your store, and say, how come that didn't light up a music style over there? Because all the other ones, or most of them anyway, should light up some kind of music style. And that one didn't. So I'm going to leave you with a little mystery there that you have to try to ask your local staff about, and they'll tell you all about it. Another thing, though, I do want to mention is for anybody that likes to get into the feature menu, there's one thing that's really handy on this one. There's actually many things, but I'm going to show you one specifically right now. If I angle my camera down, you can see part of the tripod, but hopefully you can also see this one has the sticks on it, right? The pedals on the floor. Now, this is the first instrument in the line that has the bass pedals, and most of our students would rightfully say, well, there's no way I'm playing the pedals. I'm still learning the basic chords. I'm still learning how to do my melody. I can barely play the hands together. But even if you're an accomplished player, many people don't want to use these for bass pedals because it's really tough, right? However, when you go into your menu screen to the feature menu here, I can touch bass pedals and it says normal. And normal means that they're going to sound like bass notes. All right, hopefully you can hear that. But if I change it, there's a button. I'll show you here. If I touch scroll, now it says glide sustain. And to me, that is an awesome, awesome feature for a couple reasons. One is because sometimes people have trouble using the glide. If you've ever done, like, let's say Aloha, and you say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna master the glide. I've been working on it, and you go and you think, okay, I'm gonna maybe even play for class, right? Or you're showing it off to your spouse, and you've been doing those glides, and then you go to do it, and it sounds like this. I don't know if that's ever happened to anybody, but it certainly happened to me when I was learning how to do it, because that was an unnatural way for me to move my foot as a piano player. So if that's ever happened to you, this is a great, great feature, because check this out. If I aim the camera back down, when I have this selected on glide sustain, now I can use the glide or sustain feature by touching any of these long pedals here. See that? How much? I mean, for me, that's so much easier, because you can. It's just, for me, it's a more natural motion to just touch the pedal real quick, and you don't have to worry about being on the volume pedal, because that can be pretty hectic. The other thing is, if you happen to come from a piano background, which I don't know if anybody did, but if you're playing an instrument like a piano or an electric piano, or maybe some of the guitars even, and you want to have something with sustain on it, you can actually also use the the pedal for sustain. So if I'm doing, let's just say an electric piano here. See how it's sustaining there? And as soon as I take my foot off, it stops. So the sustain feature might not be something that you would use as much right at the beginning, and that's why it is called glide sustain. And again, you get to that by just going to the feature menu here, and you go to bass pedals. You hit select, and then you change it from normal to glide sustain, and it automatically knows if it should glide or sustain. So you don't even have to worry about picking. If you have an instrument that will glide, it will glide for you on the pedals. If you have an instrument that sustains, it'll sustain for you. So again, something that I think is really cool. And when people see the pedals on the EZ10, you know, for the first one in the line, sometimes they're a little bit intimidated by it, but you never have to play them, right? You still have the same automatic bass with all your styles that you would on any other Lowry instrument. But if you want to use them for a function, which again was unheard of in some of the earlier generations of instruments of this size, now you can do it. And all you have to do is program it like that, and you're good to go. And I guess I'll end with, well, we're going to end with some music eventually, but I did want to tell you, if you're familiar with going over to your orchestral sounds, which are way over here on the right, because remember on the EZ1, 2, 3, and 4, you don't have these additional setups in the middle, so if you want to change your sounds, you have to go over here. So I don't have time to show you too many of my favorite sounds, but I just want you to know that on the EZ10, when you touch pianos, guitars, strings, woodwinds, or brass, so any of those main buttons there, you get, I believe it's 8 sounds per button. So in other words, you have 8 pianos, 8 guitars, 8 strings, et cetera, and then when you go to more, there's the more button at the end, you have 50 additional sounds just in that one button more. So in more, you have stuff like, oh boy, steel drums, scat singers, got a beautiful pan flute. You got all sorts of different organs, Baroque organs. You know, you got kazoo, mandolin. So all the instruments that wouldn't necessarily fit into the other categories. Beautiful choir sound, bells, all this. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful sounds. And you have 50 additional ones. So you get 8 pianos, 8 guitars, 8 strings, 8 woodwinds, 8 brass, and then 50 other melody sounds. And if you're thinking, well, gosh, I don't know, it sounds really confusing. I don't know if I could program all that myself. When I pick the stuff in the middle, when I use my setups, it's automatically utilizing, I don't know if you can see it over here, but when I switch the buttons here, you're automatically utilizing a lot of those sounds already. And then if you want to go above and beyond, kind of custom pick some of your own, then you go do that. But just by using these buttons in the middle, it's so easy. You just pick what style of music you want to play, and then you start cycling through those buttons and you get all these great sounds. So I think I'm going to play a song for you, and then maybe Robert has some announcements, and then maybe we might end with a finale. So let me play some more music
Bryan, I just want to mention that I thought it's cool whenever you switch from those different setup numbers that it even puts on the harmony and makes it sound bigger the more, the higher the number you go.
Yes, that is a good point. Cool. Yeah. So typically your numbers 1 and 2 will tend to be the softer or just kind of simpler setups and simpler sounds. 4 and 5 will typically be the bigger ones that, like Sean said, will turn on the harmony automatically for you. So that is definitely worth mentioning. All right, let's play a tune here. That's a fun one.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Robert if you're there, and I think
I
he had
am
some
here.
announcements for you.
I am here. That was fun. That was exciting. I wish I had an EZ10. But Brian, do you think we can get you to play one more when I'm done with my announcements?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it was kind of like I was asking, but I was really telling him in a question. But I want to thank you for all attending. A couple quick announcements for you. First of all, did you enjoy your time today? I can't see you all, so the ones that I can see. Did you enjoy your time, Jeannie? You're smiling, so I'll take that as a yes. Sarah, you're smiling too.
Definitely, yes.
All right. Susan's iPad. I hope your last name is an iPad. And of course, Barbara, nice to see you on, and Guy, and there's somebody else there somewhere. But anyway, so a couple quick announcements. We try to keep you informed on a lot of the events that are happening this week, and we do have some great concerts coming up this week. We got another class tomorrow, Thursday. We have some other. We just did an Easy Series workshop, product tips, last Monday, and it was very well received. If you see one that's called SD and Easy beyond that. The other thing I want to mention is, this instrument that Brian played on today, it was interesting because back about 3-4 months ago, I remember looking at our inventory going, wow, we're in good shape. We've got a bunch of easy instruments in stock. That ought to hold us for a while. While you were playing and demonstrating, I just decided to take a quick look to see how many we just stock. And, if you don't keep an eye on this stuff, you're going to get blindsided. But I just found out that we have less than one EZ10 per store available in the entire company.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked by that too, because at one point in time, we had acquired a bunch of these in stock. We bought some from a friendly dealer. We were trying to stock up on those so that it could get us through the year as we were introducing some of the newer, smaller SD models. That's the bad news is we have less than one EZ10 per store. We have 7-8 locations, and they're about 4 or 5, I think, for what I saw. And Sean, I think you sent me a text saying you just sold one. So yeah, it's officially 4 EZ10s available, all in the entire Fletcher Music Centers. That's the bad news. The good news is the 4 that we have available for whoever's interested is there's a phenomenal opportunity on it. And let me tell you how phenomenal this is, because we are taking advantage of an opportunity as a business to do something that we really were allowed to do in the month of May. And some of you are aware of this. Your PAs may have contacted you at some point. You might have seen me do a demonstration. But we were obviously closed in April. And as we opened up in May, we had John Riley, the owner of Fletcher Music Centers, and myself, we had one major challenge and one major goal. And it was just this. We're opening, whether it was at a 20%, each store had little different guidelines depending on your location and staffing and whatever the rules were with the governor, what have you, and local guidelines. But our main focus was open, regardless of how much we can open, and stay open. Because without that, we can't even do this. If we can't even stay open to teach in the store or online or both, it was to continue to offer I got to say hi to Virginia. Hi, Virginia! Hi, Virginia's daughter! Okay, I'll get back to my group here. Sorry, I had some students walk in I haven't seen in a while, so I had to say hi. Virtual hug. Virginia, catch. I just threw you a virtual hug. Air hug. So anyway, so that was our main goal. Open, stay open, because we were a little nervous, a little different doing business the way we've done it. And John gave us a letter that our sales staff, because we have right now over actively involved just online about 250, I want to say, students. We have about 1,700 on our email base. Not all are online. Some are in store. It's a mixture. And we could not offer this incentive to the masses because it could have a reverse effect and put us out of business. But what he did is he put out a letter, and this was during the month of May. And the reason was simple, is because he had the flexibility and the leniency from his banks to offer to do this. So what he did is he gave that letter to his the sales staff, and as a result, a lot of customers took advantage of those opportunities. Well, there's a downside. That was only in May, and as we were going into June, we had some new challenges. Well, after much work, what John Riley was able to do was pretty impressive. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a little bit of that letter and something that was a little slightly different maybe, and you'll see it. We are going to give our customers, we're going to continue what we're doing on May, but not on every model in stock, on a handful of select models. Handful of select models means instruments that we have more than one of. So if we only had one EZ10, we wouldn't be able to do this. But we do have about 4 or 5. There's actually four easy, hold on a second, 4 EZ10s and 1 EZ10 Plus, I believe. And if you see there in red, we're going to continue this on select models where we are going to give our club members the opportunity to purchase their next instrument, and pay very close attention to this, at a price that will be calculated with no regard to profit. That's basically means like you're getting it at cost, as if you were a dealer and you're buying these wholesale and accounting for a trade in the process. And we're doing this for 2 reasons, and we made this very clear in May, and we're continuous on June, somewhat in June, and only on select models that we have, and I'm going to say more than a handful of, because we have a bunch of models in our inventory, but some of them are onesies and twosies. We're doing this to make sure that we continue to generate the revenue to ensure that our music club remains active. This means the store is opening or online or both. And we want you guys who are very loyal to us, and I notice some of you come to a lot of the classes, the least we can do for you is make it right. And, as we begin our new chapter of Fletcher Music Centers and doing things differently, and I'm very excited about where the direction is, we still have that little bit of that caution and radar going on. So we make sure that, because everything is kind of, we have to treat with just very delicately, should I say. So if you've ever seen an EZ10, or if you thought of purchasing one, or what have you, if you ever considered it, the 4 that we have available are being offered at a price point that will never be repeated again, simply because we can't afford to do it. We just have the ability to get away with that in the short term. So having said that, I encourage you to get with your personal assistants, find out the details, find out what we're doing for the special pricing, what have you. And with that said, Mr. Lewis, let me unmute you there. Mr. Lewis.
All right.
Can you finish off our program with a song that makes all of our students say, I've got to have an EZ10?
I think that I can. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to show you guys one last thing. It's going to take 2 seconds. I just want to make sure that you know I didn't program anything in here. I'm going to touch this home button, just the same as on yours, and that resets the whole instrument, right? So I can't have saved anything. And I'm going to show you why I think this is, in the EZ series, the one that sounds most like a virtual orchestra, okay? All I'm going to touch is just the EZ button, now that it's come back on here. and I'm going to touch this one button that's on the EZ10 for the first time called memory. All that does, I'll turn on my ABCs here, is it makes it so when I touch a new chord, it only stays on for as long as I hold it, just like a real orchestra would. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can leave that on, but this is one button that's just on the 10 for the first time on the EZ10. So I just reset the instrument, I'm going to touch easy and turn the memory off, and then you'll just see me at various times push a new style setup. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this.
A big round of applause, everybody.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Bryan Lewis. Wow. Joe Thompson, you have some big hands hanging up on the screen there. Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you, Bryan, for this wonderful presentation. Call your PA right away today and find out more. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Oh, wait, I didn't have my video on. Let me start this. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep playing music. And hurry up and get an EZ10 today. Our deliveries are on our way to you right now as we speak.
Uh-huh.